Quick video looking for any other information about the area where it happened. This is 7 a.m., supposed to be 8 hours before something happened in Delphi. Near or south of Ockley, because it was described as being 7 miles south of Delphi, and Ockley and one other area are the only ones that you can find on a map. I want to remind everybody that this area of the country has got one really interesting peculiarity: an extreme lack of Google Street Views. So that makes it even harder to analyze. I want to tell everybody out there that owns property or lives in any area that has NIMBY syndrome, you do not want to exclude the Google Street View car from going through your area and violating your privacy. It gets in the way of being able to clear up any misconceptions or even finding out what planet a photo came from. Next, this photo was taken through some lady's glass window as she's photographing the next door neighbors. Somebody stopped with a car and was loading up or emptying stuff. And again, the vague quote, "I'm 7 miles south of Delphi," and it was 7 a.m. on the day this happened. Could this be the guy? I give this source very little credibility unless immediately as this was done, the person stated at least the nearest cross street. I'm being honest about this. This could have been any day. This could have been any person. And in fact, because we don't have any corroboration, at least as far as I can find, and I've been digging a while, it could be a different state. All right, you have to eliminate those questions I'm going to ask, or I'm going to have to ask them. So I'm considering this not usable, even though it's dreadfully obvious that it's consistent. The trouble with this is, and if you're not aware of it, I got to work in the auto repair business and cleanup business and detailing business, and one of the things you find out from used car dealers is, depending on where you are, especially East Coast, cars are valued more if they're not blood red, if they're white. White and black are very popular. White is easier to care for in some cases. It just is. It depends on the weather, whether you're exposed to sap from trees, but white cars are very popular. So every white car near Delphi can't be on the list. So let's go on. But this was several hours before the murder probably happened. Months later, a man was on a park bench and was photographed by a West Lafayette lady who noticed he was dressed in a way that's very similar, it seems, to this guy. But the quote on the net is, West Lafayette is 30 minutes drive from Delphi. And he may or may not be wearing glasses, and that's really, really way too much of a coincidence, right? Okay, now I got to point out a couple of things. I'm just going to back up. This photo was taken, and she didn't notice the guy in the park because she was concentrating mostly on the kids, and this has been heavily cropped and altered. That last sentence is extremely important. Also, both these images are shown with each other. They're never shown in, quote, raw mode. Okay? And no corroboration is given, and again, it could be any time, but it's stated to have happened months later. And it's July, and he's dressed like that? April, sorry. So these are the actual distances from West Lafayette, and it was at some park. I'm not even going to bother looking through to find the park. It was months later. It's not relevant anymore. It's 15 miles away. So the claim was that it was how many minutes away? 30-minute drive. So that's actually pretty accurate. And then the other image, 7 miles away, but X number of hours beforehand. But 7 miles away is an hour. The Pyrmont or Oswa, I don't know what that says. Radnor, could be anywhere. At that distance, 7 miles south would also qualify all the way over here to being in this area. I don't know. Now, I want to point out something very, very dreadfully important. This image was paired with that other one that you just saw a second ago. Is this any better than what the police did, sandbagging all of this by giving out images and video that are crippled so that we can't analyze it? Maybe it's unintentional, maybe not. I'm presuming it's not intentional. I actually presume good vibes on this, right? But really? And then not wanting to corroborate? I mean, I'm sure the person did in some way corroborate, right? But it's a guy in a park bench a couple of months later, dressed in a way that's apparently pretty similar. And these are the distances we're dealing with. Near or south of Ockley, 7 a.m., 8 hours before the murders, 7 miles south of Delphi, Indiana, visiting someone's house. Nosy neighbor takes a photo. Photo of a man on a bench in a park taken in West Lafayette, many miles away. And months later, the first one, was X number of hours earlier. Dressed similarly, but according to people in the area, that's basically how lots of guys over 40 dress. It's the cool weather outfit, but that was April. So April sometimes is cool. I've been caught in a very nasty storm in April, and I'm presuming it being an East Coast state, maybe they had that going on. I'll check on the weather that day, I guess. But anyway, this image here, even if it is 8 hours before and has a car that's vaguely similar, and the guy's obviously dressed kind of similar. No, he isn't. The pants are wrong. This is more of a nosy neighbor looking at what's going on next door and getting suspicious before this happened. And this is months later, someone seeing someone that looks similar in a photo they didn't realize they took an image of. But again, the quality is as bad or worse than the one we have for Bridge Guy, or even the photos that we've been allowed to see from the girls' Instagram postings. Because we're not being given the raw images. The raw images would be very different. They wouldn't have copyright by Amazon or copyright NBC News stuck in the lower left-hand corner so they could claim copyright on evidence. And this is absolutely not any better than the Bridge Guy photo. It may even be him, but again, that doesn't mean he did it. We don't have the data. I'm sorry, but a lack of information here and a lack of the ability to double check things and not having access to the raw data, that causes me a great deal of problems. I don't feel comfortable making judgments based on a lack of information or really, really poor data sources. This is why you avoid them. This is why when you're doing an audio playback from the Las Vegas shooting, if there's an excessive amount of noise, the first thing you do is get rid of the noise and you ignore that part of the audio because you've now altered it, but at least it doesn't distract you from what you just heard before or after a loud noise of some guy yelling "Chet" obnoxiously loud and ruining the audio recording. Because of out of necessity, they have to talk to each other. Or the loud beep, beep, beep they had during the Las Vegas shooting, the recordings on the body cams. I had to erase that to be able to concentrate on what was important. This, just like those beeps and noises and loud ruffling noises and collars rubbing against chin cams, or chins running against it, I have to immediately dispose of any distraction presented that is of no use or is deliberately, it seems, lacking corroborability, or even, literally give the GPS location. This is in a city park, apparently. Why isn't that told? Damn it. And next, again, I can't say this enough. If you are in a community that voted to exclude the Google streetcar, contact Google through your local Chamber of Commerce and beg them to scan your entire city. I'm not kidding. This is a resource that is missing in this case. Even people claiming to have found something on Google Street View are hard-pressed to give me a link to tell me where they saw it. The area is literally not covered. It's literally just the highway and a couple of other areas and random Google spheres. And that's another thing. We need an alternative where we have these recordings. We have these street views. Until that happens, I can't review any of this or corroborate it or do anything with it. We need feet on the street doing the work. If anybody has any further information, please include just the information. I don't need to know the names of the people that took the photos, just the generalized area. That would help to narrow it down and might provide some information. For instance, the pathway to the only other parks from where the murders happened are more likely to be hidden pathways. There's also a couple of places that look like hobo hangouts. There's even talk specifically in Delphi of hobo jungles out there. And there's a train track section that is literally the border with the city. And if you're not aware of it, if you jump on one side of the tracks without being seen first, you're outside the jurisdiction of the local police department. But if you're on the other side, you're in their jurisdiction. That makes it to where that would be an area that has that cutoff point, a 50-50 spot as we call it, where you could avoid prosecution for trespassing by setting up a tent or camping out or parking a random van or something. This is very critically important, and none of that information is on Street View or even mentioned. Just saying. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that, and I hope this video has been of some use, but I'm pretty much considering these images not useful. Good day.